Welcome everyone to this afternoon session. I'm Teresa and I'm going to talk about the research work that I've been doing in ECIMAT, that it's a research center that belongs to the University of Vigo. And I've entitled my thesis Toxicity Trend of Biodegradable and Non-Biodegradable Plastic Leakage during Microbial Exposure in Seawater. So as you can guess, it's going to be related with the current problem we face with plastic pollution in an attempt to search for a safe solution. So I guess that these pictures will look familiar to all of you, but unfortunately this is a reality. And the constant flow of plastics to the ocean has several side effects on the environment that affects really to its health. But what is the solution? So recently, bioplastics are seen as a possible solution, and in fact, bioplastics industry has witnessed major development recently. A lot of research has focused on these innovative plastics. But sometimes the term bioplastics is still a bit confusing. So to clarify, bioplastics can either be bio-based or biodegradable, or they can show both properties. So bio-based materials are those that are made from renewable resources, such as starch or oils or fermentation products. And biodegradable are those materials that can be recognized by naturally present enzymes, so that they can break down the polymer. And focusing a little bit more on biodegradation of plastics, is a process where the polymer changes into carbon, water, and biomass if it's aerobic. And this occurs through the action of microbes that can be either algae or fungi or bacteria. And in this process, it's highly dependent on the environmental conditions. And for instance, most of the biodegradable plastics can only biodegrade under controlled temperature and humidity. Then another important thing is that during this process, some toxic metabolites could be released. And it's very important to investigate that this does not happen in order to confidently support the shift toward bioplastic industry. Another fact that is maybe not very known is that the additives that are used during the manufacturing process of plastics can then leak or migrate to the surrounding environment, in this case to the seawater, and some of these additives have been reported to be toxic. So having said this, the aim of my thesis was twofold. First of all, to assess the toxic effects of some plastic leakage over time while they were being incubated in seawater under the presence of marine bacteria. And secondly, to measure the biodegradability of these plastic materials. However, the second one could not be carried out due to COVID-19 restrictions. So the plastic materials that I used were four. The first one was the polyvinyl chloride inflatable toy, and this was the only synthetic material. Then I had polydroxybutyrate resin, that it's a type of polyhydroxyalkanoates, and these are bio-based compounds as they are produced by microbes and accumulated inside the cytoplasm, and they use them as energy source. The advantage of these materials are that they are bio-based and they don't need very specific conditions in order to biodegrade, and they show very similar properties to some conventional plastics. The third material was polylactic acid disposable cups. It's also bio-based, as lactic acid is a fermentation product, and actually is the second bioplastic produced at large scale worldwide. And even if in many sources I've read that it's biodegradable, I think it's more accurate to call it compostable because it won't biodegrade in the typical landfills or in the fresh or marine waters. And finally, I had PLA PHA 3D printing filament. This was also bio-based because it was a blend of the two polymers that I've just explained. And its biodegradability will depend on the composition of the blend and also in the environment where it ends up. Now here I show you a schematic view of the experimental design, and this is a picture of how I had it in the lab. So briefly, what I did was to mill and sieve the plastic materials into less than 250 micrometers, except for the PHB resin, because it was already acquired in powder. So I added these microplastics into seawater with nutrients at a final concentration of 10 grams per liter. And besides, I isolated bacteria from Ría de Vigo, that is located in the northwest of Spain, in Galicia. And I had two sampling points. The first one was an industrial port in Bouzas, and the second one, a cleaner site in the outlet of the Ría de Vigo. So overall, I had 2 bacterial controls, one for each bacterial source, and then each of the plastic materials exposed to each of the bacterial sources. Then, in order to test the toxicity, I used Paracentrotus lividus sea urchin. So I opened the ripe adults in order to obtain the gametes, and I performed in vitro fertilization. Then the eggs, I delivered them into different dilutions of the plastic liquids, and I incubated them for 48 hours. After this, I could check and measure the larvae under the microscope. So larvae exposed to non-toxic liquids will look like this. This is a well-developed larvae, whereas larvae exposed to toxic liquids will show inhibited growth and sometimes also malformations. In total, I performed 4 bioassays. The first one, which I've called T0, it was before incubation with bacteria, and then I performed another 3 after 8, 31, and 60 days after exposure. Unfortunately, the one after 31 days, the controls turned out to be toxic, so the results were not valid, and I'm not gonna show them here. Now I'm going to move on to the results. So for the initial liquid, in this figure, I show you the larval growth in the y-axis, and in the x-axis, you have the different dilutions from most diluted to most concentrated. So for PLA PHA filament and for PLA caps, you can see that there were no significant differences with the control. Whereas for PVC toy and PHB resin, if you see these asterisks, this represents that larvae exposed to these dilutions grew significantly less than the control. And from now on, I'm going to explain the results in terms of toxic units, because I think it's going to be easier for you to understand. And toxic units are the inverse of the EC50. And for those who are not familiar with ecotoxicology terms, the EC50 in this case will be the liquid concentration at which the 50% of the larvae show growth inhibition. So in terms of toxic units, it's less than 1 for the first two materials, meaning that they are innocuous for the larvae, while in PHB, I got 3.7 toxic units with this confidence interval in brackets, and for PVC toy, it was the most toxic material with 6.3 toxic units. In this slide, you have some microscopic photographs of the larvae of the initial liquid, and again, for the first two materials, you can clearly see that the larvae grew perfectly well here, even for the most concentrated treatment, while for PVC toy and PHB resin, for concentrations above 33.3, you can see developmental block. And going a bit deeper, in PVC toy, it seems that the additives and mainly the plasticizers that contain trigger this developmental block. And I don't know if you have noticed, this larvae with the blue asterisk have quite a peculiar shape, and this is actually called exogastrulation. So these larvae have the gut everted, and this is normally caused by metals. So it seems that the stabilizers or coloring agents of the PVC contain heavy metals and induce these malformations on the larvae. Then for PHB resin, although in theory it's a non-toxic and a biocompatible polymer, you can see here that it shows some toxicity. I suggest that this is related to the size of the fragments, because actually the size of the resin fragments were on the nanoscale. And it's known that nanoparticles can alter different physiological pathways of the sea urchin, and they can even increase the production of reactive oxygen species, therefore affecting their membranes and subsequently causing developmental block. Now I'm going to start with the results after 8 days of incubation with bacteria. And here what I want to highlight is that bacteria were actually toxic for the larvae. So maybe the waste products or the secondary metabolites that they may have produced were harmful for the larvae. So here the significant differences you can see with the asterisks are due to both the toxicity induced by bacteria and the induced by the plastic liquids. And for T60, so after 60 days, again, bacteria-induced toxicity. So what I did was to test dilutions of the bacterial controls in order to be able to get the toxic units. And then I decided to subtract these toxic units due to bacteria from the control in order to obtain an approximate value of toxicity for the plastic leakage. And what I found was that for PHB resin, PLA PHA filament, and PLA caps, actually the toxicity was lost, whereas for PVC toy, it remained being quite toxic. Now, this is the last graph that I'm going to show you, but it's a summary of the whole experiment. So I guess you're going to, or I hope you're going to get everything better. So I have the toxic units in the y-axis, and in the x-axis, the different bioassays I've carried out. Then the symbols represent bacteria from the port, from the RIA, or in the case of the triangle, it's no bacteria because it was the initial leakage. So for PLA PHA filament and PLA caps, you can see that they followed more or less the same trend over the whole experiment. So I suggest that the slight difference here in toxicity are due to the bacteria and their population dynamics, and not due to any release of harmful compounds from the polymer matrix. Then for PVC toy, it was the most toxic along the whole experiment, because note here the different order of magnitude of the scale. So for T0, we've said that the additives that migrate to the seawater cause the toxicity. In T8, it seems that there was an enhanced migration of additives catalyzed by the bacteria that attach to the microplastics. And then in T60, it seems that bacteria were able to degrade or assimilate these plasticizers that were dissolved in the seawater. And then these differences that you can see between bacteria from the port and from the RIA could be attributed to different species composition found on each site. For example, bacteria from the RIA could be more competent in carrying out these reactions, because maybe they are used to metabolized chemical additives or related compounds that are naturally found in the ports in this case. Now for PHB resin, we said that nanoparticles seems to be what caused the toxicity, and the same could be said for T8, as there are no significant differences between T8 and T0. The final decrease after 60 days could be attributed to the degradation or biodegradation of the PHB fragments, because in fact, greater surface area per unit volume, like that of nanoplastics, leads to a greater biodegradation rate. And in addition, hydroxy acids, that are the hydrolysis products of PHB, do not seem to be harmful for the sea urchin and do not seem to accumulate in the seawater. However, what I've explained here, these are only assumptions, and of course, further research is needed to really verify this.
2 minutes.
So I would like to sum up with 4 conclusions. The first one is that chemical additives that leak out from the PVC polymer matrix induce toxic effects in paraffin. This reflects the need to investigate on bio-based, biodegradable, and non-toxic additives that are actually already being developed. Then PLA caps and PLA PHA 3D printing filament do not seem to release any harmful compound to the seawater. This is a very positive fact for these bioplastics, apart from being bio-based, because maybe they contain some additives that are not toxic. But in order to verify this, it's forcing for the future an analysis of the exact composition of these materials to really prove that they contain non-toxic additives or not. And third, nanoplastics may cause additional impact to that generally induced by microplastics. Yes, I've said nanoplastics, due to their small size, they can even cross biological membranes, therefore causing still unknown effects. So there is a lot to investigate in ecotoxicity of nanoplastics. So if any of you watching is interested in this area, you have a wide field to discover here. And finally, bacteria isolated from Ria de Vigo or from both as industrial ports may be able to degrade PHB and perhaps to metabolize plastic additives. This was based on previous research that marine bacteria show these capabilities. But in order to verify that the bacteria that I had in my experiment were able to carry out these reactions, what I did was to store frozen samples of the bacteria that I inoculated at the beginning and of those that survived until the end of the experiment. And the idea is to sequence their genome in order to identify the species and see if they are able to metabolize PHB or additives. So thank you very much for listening.